Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good morning. My name is Kim McMahon, and I am a member of the Leadership Columbia Alumni Association Board, and I welcome you here this morning to our final content program for this membership year, 2021-22. And we have a pretty exciting topic to sort of just scratch the surface on. And so if you're ending maybe an academic year, a fiscal year, a school year with your families, and you're thinking a little bit reflective about what's next, this is going to be a great session to get you thinking. We have Jada Willis, who is the founder and CEO of Willis HR, with us today to talk a little bit about how to know when it's time to go, which would be focused on career and life transitions and how to match your values both personally and professionally. Jada has been an HR professional for over 18 years and has been serving leaders in Columbia since 2013. So I'm going to pass it on to Jada. Remind everybody, feel free to drop any questions in the chat or comments or affirmations of what you're hearing. We will get to some questions in the end. And also, we are recording this session. Wanted you to be aware of that as well. So Jada, welcome and take it away.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm excited about this power session. So like Kim said, how to know when it's time to go. I work with leaders, not just in Columbia and South Carolina, but around the country. And I would say that this is applicable to all of us, not just leaders, but really to professionals, students, individuals, parents. And we're also in good company. I don't know if you know this, and maybe that's also why you're attending the session, but even Time Magazine reported that COVID-19, the pandemic, actually has pushed us to this collective reckoning with our values, our lifestyles, our goals. It's made us look inward on what are we doing and start asking some really hard questions. I want you to know that I think as a society, we all, to a certain degree, and I don't know, are looking at ourselves and also our workplaces, our environments, how we're spending our time, and just again starting to scratch the surface on some of these tough questions. So you may be asking, okay, so what are really the symptoms, right? Well, I think that there are a few things, and these are just high level, but when you really start having some difficulty and even responding to how are you, right? We all, it's a pleasantry where we're asking, hi, how are you? And you're responding, oh, and you pause. And it's difficult to even rationalize that pause, but there is a pause there. And you actually start searching for an answer. Or maybe you're on this other bucket where you just say, I'm good. And then maybe you're reflecting in the day. You're like, am I good though? What's good about my day, about my life? Where am I? And these are some of the things where you're going through the motions, kind of you have your routine. Now, of course, COVID-19 has changed some of those routines, but again, you're trying to just roll with the punches, be flexible and fluid with what, life is presenting. Maybe you're trying to even ease back into on-site work, but you're just trying to do what you need to do to kind of even get through the day, right? And maybe there's again this additional thought of feeling useless or questioning one's purpose. And really, if you look around, we're again not alone in this. Your peers are doing it, but maybe we're also not talking about it collectively. So that's why this is a really important session. Also, what I've noticed, especially with the leaders that I've been working with and some of the professionals, is we're becoming a little bit more indecisive. Now, I know that there was decision fatigue happening as a part of COVID-19 and everything that brought with it, but really it's also just questioning like I don't even want to think about what I am going to have for dinner. Like it's the little questions, it's the little decisions that you have to make in a given day that actually start stressing you out more so than usual, or maybe that they really should, right? And then you're sitting there and you're saying like, what is wrong with me? You can tell that there's something just a little bit off or a little bit different. Or maybe someone is actually giving you that feedback. Hey, you seem kind of different. Is everything okay? And when the people around you start asking you that, it also kind of pushes you to look inward. Now, I think all of us, maybe even this week as we're coming back from a holiday, is we're so excited for Friday. All right. And everyone's coming back to a pile of emails and so much work to do that we left, for us last week. But if you're doing this on a consistent basis of just being excited to get to the end of the work week, because then, on the weekends, you can do the things that are either important to you or you can just not be working, then that again is another sign and symptom of a concern that you should really take that time to look inward. But also with ourselves, we all get excited about, well, most of us get excited about the new year, right? And right now we're about to get to the middle of the year. And I just had a client this morning that I was speaking with, and they're like, I'm so excited for January. Oh my goodness. Well, there are so many days between now and January. I would ask, what are we doing today that can either improve your life, improve your lifestyle, and not waiting for this new year that it will magically change, right? And then we all say waiting for summer, or just we put that end in mind and really again start thinking, I'm going to be happy when. And that's the concern, that's the problem of how you can start really spending some time with yourself, identifying what's going on inward and even around you. I have this thing that I talk through with many professionals, and even something that I've went through myself, and it's the mirror test. And so I don't know about you, but I have a specific amount of time that I'm getting ready in the morning, right? I have a morning routine, but I look in the mirror, and if you stop and pause, and you're not just putting on makeup or fixing your hair, but you stop and look at yourself. And then if you can pass the mirror test, I commend you, because it's tough. And you're looking in the mirror and you're asking yourself, what do you want to be known for? What are my values? How about, am I happy? What is happiness to me? What does success look like? And you're trying to ask these questions. Now, it may sound a little crazy. Yes, you're going to be talking to yourself in a mirror, but listen, I think we've passed through 2020. Everything's off the table. So these are the tough questions, the hard questions, where if you're not asking yourself in the mirror, then you're taking yourself back from a journal perspective, and you're really asking, what do you want to be known for? Is your life in line with your core values? And if you don't, and you can't identify what your core values are, then the rest of the pieces of your plans and even your measurements and goals won't be in sync. So you have to first identify, what are your core values? And even if you're, Googling them and deciding how to impart this, it is an exercise that we all need to do. And I say this to organizations, and I also say it to individuals. And that's how you can see if it's also aligning with your workplace. Are you living a life that leads to your legacy? A lot. And I'm telling you, so many individuals are asking about their legacy right now. Now, legacy doesn't mean that you're thinking about necessarily, passing on. It means, honestly, when you walk out of the room, again, what is that legacy? What is that impact that you want to make? And is it in line with the person that you want to be, right? And asking the question, am I fulfilled? Now, when you answer those questions and you're really, doing that deep work, asking yourself those tough questions, those answers will actually guide you. And if you can be authentic in who you are, then you're probably right now maybe not passing the mirror test. And our goal is to really get comfortable with the uncomfortable of, maybe I'm not in line with my core values. Maybe my workplace isn't in line with what I want to be doing, right? And maybe it's even a relationship. Whatever the case may be, this is the time right now, not in January, not even, in July. This is our time, and we have to make every day count. So if we're looking at ourselves, we're looking around us, what is not a match? And you can also make sure that you're starting with that gratitude piece of it. It doesn't, just because you question where you are or even in your career, doesn't mean that you can't be thankful for the journey. Doesn't mean that you can't express gratitude to the lessons, the manager that you have. And it means that you're just starting to take stock into what's important to you and how you want to be spending your time and your days moving forward. And that's okay to be very authentic and true to yourself. But it's first in identifying where you are right now to decide on also where you're going. Now, you may say, Jada, listen, these are some tough questions, and I don't know where to start. I don't know what I want. If you can put money aside I like to say the $1 million question. If you were given $1 million, but you had to still work 40 hours a week, what would you be doing? And it has to be a job. So picture your ideal life where money is not an issue, and it's not about pleasing this person or letting this person down or disappointing them, but start there and then work backwards. How does your ideal life compare to what you're doing right now? And then we can start, and that's moving on to 3, is making those incremental changes. I really do think it starts with the journaling. I think it starts with taking a deeper look into who you are and, again, who you want to be, but then deciding, how do we get there? Because it's going to be so overwhelming initially. And even it's, to me, I'm saying to myself, well, you know what? And I'll share this in full transparency. I really want to lose weight, and I want to be the kind of person that wakes up at 4:30 a.m. or 5 a.m. And it's just, that's what's important to me. And so even if I start setting my alarm for 6:30 and then 6, these are the small changes to get me to the place of where, again, my goals are and where I want to be. And from a fitness perspective, you make a commitment to yourself. It doesn't mean that your life will change overnight and you'll be a completely different person next week. It's really just identifying what would be your action plan, what would be your step forward to start reaching some of the goals that you're placing for yourself and for your life. But ultimately, and I just want to reinforce this, it really does start with understanding your identity, understanding your core values, and then how you're presenting those to the outside world. So it could happen in your work, your relationships, in your home life. Who's the person that you want to be? And again, what's your legacy? What do you want to be known for? But you're not alone in this. Yes, we're all going through some version of this, right? But you have resources and you have people that can help. So some of the partners that I recommend are, there's a career coach, Alicia Coho. I've provided her email address for you. If you really think that you need to just even understand, what do I want to do? What do I want to be when I grow up? It's okay to be asking these questions right now. And we're 40 years old, 50 years old. That's okay. Most people are feeling in a very similar way. And she's going to be able to help you walk through and even do some workbook and exercises of discovering more about your strengths, your skill set. I also would recommend doing some personality assessments. I'm a big fan of the DISC assessment and Strength Finders as well. Again, it's all about self-awareness and getting to know who you are present day. But also, if you need to update your resume, I do have someone that's even on my team that can assist you. Her name is Kelly Long, and she's an executive and leadership resume writer. But maybe maybe it's time. You know it's time, and you feel that in your gut, right? Well, let's make some updates. Let's make some changes so you are marketable. Now, I've had mixed feelings. I'm just being absolutely transparent about life coaching, right? And so I support everybody in however they can transition and through life, that whatever resources help, right? Well, I have found that Padma Gordon is a phenomenal life coach and relationship counselor. So I've actually recommended Padma to several organizations and leaders, and several organizations actually hired her to just be a life coach for their leadership team. And when I tell you that she is able to put a level of peace and calmness within the conversation, but genuinely give you tools and techniques that are going to help you and being mindful, present, and just kind of navigating everything that we have going on. Because let's just face it, we all have a lot going on. So again, these are some of the resources and the people that you could reach out to, but I really want to encourage you to first examine yourself, but then get the help that you need. It's really difficult to be navigating all of this alone without even someone to help be that confidant, bounce ideas off of, and support us through this transition. I really believe that we all have probably a lot of work to do, and that's okay. I would strongly urge you to live your life authentically. Be your authentic self, because that is the only way that we're going to be fulfilled and then really be a positive impact to those around us. So now I want to transition to ask about any questions that we may have. Anything that we want to discuss? You can put this in the chat. You can take yourself off mute.
Sit with uncomfortable silence for 30, 45 seconds and see who will be courageous first.
And while we're waiting on that, just because you've attended doesn't mean necessarily this is, again, about your career. I think it's all about really just spending time with knowing ourselves as from an identity perspective, and really just kind of seeing where we're going next. This is a pivotal time, and I think 2020 was able to shake some things up for us. So let's use this as an opportunity to really propel forward. It is the year of acceleration. So use that mindset, and you're able to transition yourself. Anything that I can just discuss further? Answer.
Well, Jada, I'll actually start with one. We had a two-part series this past month about having difficult conversations. One was focused on, as the leader, having them with subordinates on your team. The second one was focused on how to have those with your supervisor or someone in a position of power. So give us some strategies of how this conversation could begin with a supervisor if the exploration process sort of gives the tell that maybe something different or something next could be on the horizon. Since oftentimes find that, people are nervous to say, I'm looking, I'm job searching, or I'm transitioning, and how to create an environment of trust about that, yet also continue to be valued as an employee or as a participant within your network.
Sure. So I am an HR at heart. So I do want to caution anyone that, and just being realistic, once you share that from an employer standpoint, just be prepared that that leader may have that in mind, that you're planning your exit, right? So I would encourage that if you don't already have, career mapping types of conversations, if your leader is not already scheduling those with you, then I would encourage you to initiate that and just say, I know this isn't maybe the time for performance reviews, but I would like to have a discussion in regards to additional feedback that I have to give from an organization, but also I'd love to receive as well. And so schedule a career mapping conversation. So what the leader will think is, wow, you're taking a lot of initiative. You're interested in being invested in this organization. And I'm excited about that. So have the conversation, but then also say, all right, so here are my strengths. This is where I feel like I'm applying those strengths in my present position. And then start talking about maybe some other skills or other strengths that you have or would like to learn, and say, how would that fit into maybe some of the long-term planning that's happening with this organization, or any other positions that either we have available or maybe coming down the pipeline. So you're really, again, showing that interest in growth, and the leadership, the leader's mind will say, oh, wow, they're so invested in that career opportunity moving forward. So you're not really positioning as in I'm exiting, it's positioning as how can I use my strengths present day with this organization. Now, if you do start thinking about your exit plan, be prepared that whenever you're having that conversation with your leader, that they may ask for your resignation. So I wouldn't go into it and position it as such. I would encourage you to have the dialogue of, this is where I see myself in a year, 2 years time. Is that in alignment with also how you see how I can contribute better or differently with the organization? I really think this open, candid discussion, focusing on how you're contributing, and then also how the leader is giving you that feedback back, will really help in the evolution of your career. So I hope that answers your question.
Great. Got us started, and now I see a few dropped in. You want to take those, or do you want me to curate?
Yeah, go ahead. Read them. I'll answer.
Okay, so my friends discuss a great deal about dissatisfaction in careers. They feel that perhaps they're too far down the line or too deep in to their career competency area to sort of change course. What are tips to help colleagues think or realize that there are still options out there if this transition is real or is needed?
Yeah, so this is a really good question, and I do think that your friends need also that career coach to help them, because there are really cool types of workbooks and tools to walk through. But just in being that best friend, here's one thing that I've done before, long time ago. I would actually look up, we have a job seekers job market right now. I would actually look up other jobs and I would print those out and highlight the pieces where either my skills are applicable or I would like to learn that skill, right? And then I would also look at how does my resume position myself for those different career options. And I would really, and honestly, it's also a good tool to realize, wow, I'm doing a lot of things that are also being asked of this position. And it makes you realize you have options. And everybody, I think the biggest thing that we help leaders with is getting unstuck. And unstuck starts with their mental perspective of knowing, I think there is always a point to transition. It just may take longer because you need to have a plan in place. I don't know if they are quote unquote too far down to transition, but they do have to look at realistically, if I make this pivot, how does it change financially? How does it change even from a time commitment outside of my home? And you have to realize what's a thing called opportunity cost, what you're giving up for what you're getting. Maybe you are going to have more fulfillment because of the type of work that you're doing. And you could either make more money or make a little less money. And what are those adjustments that you're willing to make so that you are leading to a path of fulfillment in the work that you're doing? All right.
See the second one, focused on opinions of the importance of progression or being progressive, forward thinking regarding remote work to retain and attract talent. There's a concern about job departure because this flexibility is vacating the workplace, or that sort of the old rules are returning as we close out life in the pandemic.
Wow, that's such a great question slash comment. I mean, it's a lot to unpack, and I feel like I could do a all day seminar on this. So, all right, my opinions in regards to how I'm even guiding clients right now is, even for our essential workers, there is still a level of flexibility that we have been able to lend to in the midst of the pandemic. I would really encourage employers to look at, am I requiring my employees to come into the workplace full time because it's a necessity, or am I doing it because I have this school of thought where they're really not working? Because there are actually things that you can implement to ensure that your employees are working, even beyond trusting them, right? And so, do you have the right tools in place? So, I would say, really, from an organizational perspective, are you prepared to offer even a little bit of flexibility? But first, how about you send a survey or even ask your employees one on one, what are they looking for? Do stay interviews. So, what that means is, what type of work environment are you interested in? And even where do you see yourself in the company a year from now? What would make your workplace a better workplace? And I would also give a caveat of, don't necessarily make promises. Just say, I'm collecting information to either better improve our workplace or even our policies. May not happen now, but it's something that we're doing from a planning perspective. I would really encourage everyone to think about that level of collecting feedback. How do you want your culture to be perceived? Because it is competitive right now, and an employee can easily pivot to a new career opportunity. If an employee is saying wow or showing any kind of indication of being disgruntled, it's really a red flag, because they could easily transfer to another position. And there's a lot more to unpack there, so I'm sorry, but that was just like the tip of the iceberg.
This is a good one too. Resources for determining or reflecting on core values. So a little bit on how to get started. You mentioned journaling, but other ideas and resources as a redirect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I actually we're adding something. This is perfect. I feel like Lane, thank you for throwing this softball at me. We're actually adding a guide to willishr.com this week in HR Essentials, and it's actually a guide of helping you determine your core values. And so really it's taking a little step further. But also, whenever you do and complete the DISC assessment, there is another section, if you do that extended profile, where we talk a little bit more about what are your core values and how do they align with the workplace and even your communication style. And I hate to say it, but the starting point is even with going to good old fashioned Google and saying worksheet to determine my core values. And I know like that sounds so simple and silly, but it really is. It's honestly going to be asking those questions. Again, what do you want to be known for? And who am I? What do I respect in other people? And what do I want to see whenever I interact with other people? And just narrowing those down to then again, your authentic self. How is that presented to the world? What do I want to be known for? I think it's a really good starting point, but we will have a guide uploaded by Friday, actually. I swear I didn't tell Lane to do that. That was just perfect timing.
Other questions? Someone like to chime in? So Jada, can I put you on the spot? You mentioned a comment earlier and you said in full transparency and you shared a bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Tell it, and you are a business owner and a CEO. So would you be able to share high level of that career transition or that moment for you that maybe was that 90-degree or a 180? So that we could be affirmed in what we're thinking or even how we wish to support employees or leaders within our organizations to be courageous and to follow through on what the mirror has reflected back.
I think that's an excellent question. And yeah, I'm a very transparent person. So I would say that I was planning on leaving my full-time HR corporate position with Verizon for quite some time. And I did something that was unexpected. I gave my manager, my director, I had that relationship where I told her in 2 years that I would be transitioning to a consultant. I do not recommend that. I repeat, I do not recommend that. But what I did, I mean, I still had a full contribution to the company. I even was promoted in that timeline and time frame. I would say the moment that I started feeling, it was really the going through the motions, and it was realizing that I have so much more to contribute, and I can only contribute that to this specific work group, right? And it doesn't mean I enjoyed my position. I enjoyed the folks that I worked with, but I knew it was going to be hard because I was going to miss folks, right? I was going to miss this environment, but I also knew, and it was again that gut feeling in myself of gut feeling within myself that really I was uncomfortable, and it was like I didn't fit anymore, if that makes sense. It was as if like something was out of place and I needed to realign. And so maybe some other signs and symptoms is that I was dragging. Like I'm in HR and I was dragging to go to work. Like I was like, do I start at, 9:30, 10? Director's like, yeah, like 8. So it was really becoming difficult and challenging. And I was just trying to figure out why is it so difficult to even do the simple task? And to be honest, my patience like almost collapsed, where it was the smallest things that I was just triggered and really upset by, and that just wasn't like me, right? So I could tell that something, I needed to have a life change, I needed an adjustment, and I wasn't really being true to, in my own words, to my calling per se. And so then I gave my manager a 3-month notice that I was officially resigning, but I also had to look at myself and tell myself that I wouldn't have the same security. And I had to have real conversations where same security, even maybe a challenge from a healthcare perspective, because I'm a business owner, right? And so really looking at what am I going to face? What are my challenges? But again, opportunity cost. What am I giving up for what I'm getting? And I'm getting that freedom. I'm having an opportunity to make a difference and apply my gifts to a whole new sector of the population, small businesses. And that was aligning with my life goals, right? And so that was a moment where I had to say, it's time to jump, and it's never going to be 100% comfortable or even 100% like I have everything figured out. Nope. I would recommend, as long as you have about 80% knowledge of what you're doing, maybe your action steps to get there, you're gonna have to jump, and you're not necessarily gonna feel 100% comfortable with that.
That is great. Any last opportunity for a question? pretty silent group on a Wednesday.
Yeah, but thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I really do think that this is our time, and all of us, an opportunity to pivot coming out of hopefully the post-pandemic. We really can change our lives, change ourselves if you so want to.
Well, and I think that's a great sentiment for us to share as we close out our LCAA programming year of how we can better ourselves and think about the jump, and then how our network within the chamber is about improving Columbia and improving the leaders who make Columbia great. And so, Jada, we thank you for sharing your time. We thank our participants for leaning in and listening a bit to thinking about being your best self. We want to let you know on behalf of Leadership Columbia Alumni Association, we'll be pushing out our plans for our 21-22 membership year. And we hope that you will consider joining in with us for another year of great programming, so that we as leaders and professionals can continue to stay sharp and stay connected, and also stay focused on the best Columbia. So thank you, Jada. And we will send out the slides from today in some communication in the next few days, so that you can have those resources as well. So we appreciate everybody. Thank you for a great year, and have a wonderful summer.